There's a plane standing at the ready.
What's going on, guys? What is happening? Oh, what's up, Bubba News? It's good to see everybody. We're in the post. Hold on one second. Still trying to figure out my setup. Jeez. But it's great. It's great to see everybody. It's great to have a couple human beings here. As always, you are looking at a time lapse somewhere in Los Angeles, California. What's up, Prepared Mind? It's good to see you guys. Because I am trying to document the best I can. Here is at least my local truth. These were what the clouds look like today. Not a satellite, not a drawing, not a description. This is actually a literal time lapse of. Well, I guess it's the new day now. We got the 22nd, but this was the 21st, and sort of a mixed bag. But they were starting to spray again. These last couple of days, it was really, honestly, pretty relaxed, pretty. What can you say? Pure. Real things were happening up there in the skies, and right for this whole first sort of portion of it, that's definitely what you're seeing as well. But if we sort of fast forward later in the day, this is what was happening. This is what was happening later in the day. There was those real clouds that were happening, and then it sort of devolved into the soupy blur mix, right? And here where we really get some. I want to say horrifying images. This is just, and that's why I think it was yet another. Every day is interesting in a different way, in a subtle change. But here today to have those real clouds start the day off and have it just devolve into this soupy sky mix, right? And if we forward it even a little bit more. Let's see what this next portion looks like. It just gets grayer and thicker and milkier as the day goes on. You can, and that's why, again, I think the time lapses are worth my effort, because, I mean, this is how you see what's actually going on up there. It was way different this morning, right? Can we just for frame of reference, here's the blue sky from earlier in the day. And this is literally just a couple hours later. This hazy milk that just enveloped. It gathered and decimated, as usual. I think we're all tired, Prepared Mind. It's rough out there. Even if you're not leading a double YouTuber life, where you need to have double emails and phones and double everything, and you're trying to remember what you were supposed to do. But I'm sure a lot of you were living double lives, triple lives in your own way. So there's just a lot of exhaustion going around. I think none of us are really prepared, mentally or physically, for what's coming next. And I think that's part of the plan too, to get us so worn out and exhausted that when stuff really starts to go crazy, it's going to be easy to call out to Mr. State, Mr. Guy in charge for help, because you're gonna be tired. You're gonna be wrecked. So we'll check back in with the time lapse in a second. But this, I just thought, there's always something interesting going on. I couldn't really tell, and it looks a little different here in the picture, but what these parallel lines, whether those were actual cloud condensation things happening, or if that was the light rays. Now looking at the picture, they do seem to be a little more related to the condensation, but fascinating nonetheless, these sort of parallel lines that just looking for patterns. This one, I think you can tell a little bit better that those are the rays of light. And I've been seeing a lot of these recently, and not something I see every day or all the time. But, that's what I like to document, like to call attention to. Why these rays seem to be coming from a direction almost higher than the sun. If this is the sun here, why are all these rays flowing in this angle, right? Shouldn't they be flowing out from the sun? And I got a series of these, just the lone solitary little lonely trail, the Oregon Trail up there in the sky. And I got a couple of these because why not? It's, I see things, I read things, I hear things. I like to get it out there. That's all. Yeah, right. 4:30 a.m. I'm often up at 4:30 a.m. I don't seem to sleep very well, like at all anymore. I catch a couple hours here and there, and then just keep going. There's a lot of deadlines, a lot of other stuff that I'm working on besides this channel. So, and honestly, I think a lot of you were feeling the same way. It's just nuts out there. Responding to all the messages, getting all the texts back. Blah de blah. Here's another. There's your double trail. This one was very straight though. That's why I definitely wanted to show you guys this one, because look how perfectly formed this was. It got all the way across the sky without any sort of perturbations in that level of sky. It's honestly breathtaking how perfectly straight this line is. We've definitely been hearing a lot about drones lately. The possibility of drones being used for terrorist attacks, drones just appearing all over the place, and it's definitely been, depending on the circles you listen to, posited that drones are running the trails as well, at least to a certain degree. So on my nightly journey, trying to figure out literally what the hell is going on with my battery powered light that has no battery power anymore, that just continues to shine brighter and brighter, it seems, every night. In recent times, it really has been on for about a week at this point. And in this picture, you can see how bright it is. I think, I don't know, I'm not sure if you guys can see, there's a little plant here, and it's actually reflecting the light off of it. That's how bright this thing has gotten. And for you, those who've heard the story before, I'm gonna retell it because why not? This light ran out of batteries. It ran out of batteries a really, really long time ago, maybe 6 months ago. And then all of a sudden it's just started to glow again. I didn't turn it off. And every time you go and try to click it and change it, it loses power instantly. As soon as you start to mess with it, it loses that residual juice or whatever that it's somehow ambiently pulled out of the atmosphere. But again, now I don't know. I really want your input on this one, because it's so confusing to me why this specific light would be sucking ambient energy into its batteries and continuing to light itself. Just, it's the never ending. It's confusing me, basically. So I'm just gonna keep putting it in here. What's going on with my light, guys? Super confused by this. And maybe it just has something to do with this weird bizarro land world that we're living in, where things are just, the floor is shifting beneath you as you walk on it. It's like we really are on some crazy video game level where there's the boulders driving behind you, and it's about to smash everything, and all the platforms that you're standing on, you got to jump off that one, you got to jump to the next one, because it's kind of crumbling. You're a little screwed here. This was from a couple days ago, but I still want to call attention to it, that they've shifted this whole concept. Everything, well, a lot of major things are about measurement things are based on actual like cosmological constants. So say the speed of light or something else like that. But other things up until this point have been based on a physical object. Right, here's a picture, I guess that's of this the prototype. Is there a real one? Yeah, right. See, here's the actual kilogram. This is how it always used to be, that in some room in the middle of nowhere, right, and there's a couple copies. This is one of the copies actually, but there is an original someplace, and it really just is this like piece of metal, and that's what an official kilogram has been this entire time. It's just the kilogram, and right, not based on anything else other than just this thing. And they decided that was like not a great idea, so they had it like linked to Planck's constant. Now it's still giving you the same number. You're not going to notice any change. Honestly, it's probably a couple micrograms, but now it's just literally based on some cosmological constant. And this whole story and all the stories that I read about it completely downplay this fact. But right, I mean that makes sense. Let's get off of this little thing. That's kind of weird that everybody just has to base it off of that. And that's where things get interesting. The mass of these copies have been observed to be drifting away from that of the IPK locked away in the vault. It's unclear whether the copies were losing mass or the IPK was gaining mass, but neither scenario is ideal for scientific precision, even if we're dealing with mere micrograms. And you can see, I haven't been down there to wherever they're keeping this thing. It is obviously like deep in some bunker under a double bell jar, extremely temperature controlled, pressure controlled, everything, every possible control I'm sure they could put on this thing if this is really, their holy grail line. And even with all of that insulation and power, the actual mass of this one and all the copies that are placed in different places around the world are changing their mass, gaining mass, losing mass, and they can't tell which one it is. Is it the copies losing mass or the main one gaining mass? And this, I guess I tend to be overly symbolic about everything in my life, but I see this as a huge symbol for what's going on these days, right? Things are literally not figuratively, like literally changing mass for no reason all over this planet, right? And if it's happening to this basic test kilogram in ultra pristine conditions, then it's happening to everything all over the world. And they have no explanation. They don't even try to make an explanation. They're like, meh. And that really wasn't, that wasn't the point of this article or any of the other articles, but that's what caught my mind the most, really. It was just like, are you serious? Things are just, we can't even keep track of what things weigh anymore. I don't know. Just bizarre. I want to rapid fire at you guys. Just some things that I noticed. Everybody's talking about the border and, how it's open, how it's closed. There's issues with it. We're all sort of getting funneled towards a time when borders will be just kind of an old bad memory, I think. There'll still be different cultures. There's still going to be South America, North America, Europe. Things are still going to be far apart from each other, but we really are going to get to a point where people can. Well, we're all just citizens of this world, and we're all trying to get there together. And this horrible thing happened, and that's why we banded together. But now everybody's our citizens of a world, and things like this can't happen anymore, right? And that's why you see. And I wish I could show you the article, but New York Times is not going to let me check it out. But I can sort of imagine what it's going to say, right? Giving you this argument, this is really sad. This is like sort of a weird loophole where, right, and what it's about, I actually did check it out for a second. This gay couple goes and adopts out of the country, and because the state that they live in is not accepting their marriage, this child that they brought back and adopted is not considered an American because they were not married. They weren't allowed to properly adopt it, and therefore this baby is an illegal immigrant at this point, even though there were Americans that went out to go get it, right? Isn't that so sad? This baby, the baby just wants to live. But the U.S. says our baby is not there, right? Do you see the argument that's getting made here? We should definitely let whoever they want go pick up babies and bring them over, especially if they're already Americans, right? And just piece by piece, little article by article, the wall is being torn down. Whether you're noticing or paying attention or not, it's brick by brick and argument by argument. I don't know if there's any real stopping it or fighting it. All I can do is watch, basically, put my mind on it. Because things are changing. Things are honestly changing a lot all over the place in many, many, many different ways. I'm not sure what this leanin.org thing, this is probably just a think tank. I guess they teamed up with SurveyMonkey. I'm not sure how I clicked on this, but it started to blow my mind because 60% of managers who are men are uncomfortable participating in a common work activity with a woman, such as mentoring, working alone, or socializing together, right? So we're seeing the sort of reverse backlash of the Me Too movement where, and I can feel this, all in my social settings and everywhere that I go, I better not talk / touch / approach or even mention this woman in my co-working space or really anywhere on the street, anywhere. I should not approach or talk to them because it could be misconstrued as some sort of come on, and I'm instead of just wading into all of that, I'm going to keep my mouth shut and keep looking at my phone. Which has many prongs, many reasons for it. This sort of emasculation, and it's a really touchy subject depending on which gender you are and where you are on that spectrum. But, I hope we can honestly just talk about for a second the just general trend where, and this is all over television, it doesn't matter where you're looking, that women should be empowered, men have been empowered too long, they're kind of screwing it up, and we gotta just level the playing field here a little bit. So let's get rid of the men people because they're just dumb, right? They've been doing it super wrong this whole time. But the trouble is that they have been doing it this whole time, and that they're the ones that know how to turn the knobs and right, run the editing rooms and I guess be governors and do all of that kind of stuff. And they're running into this problem apparently where right, the men have successfully been sort of stopped and scared away. Like they realize they gotta shut the hell up and get out of the way so the women can get to work now. But the trouble is that the women need to be trained, they need to be approached, and not harassing women is not enough, right? Now we gotta push you all the way towards getting, helping out, moving towards this equal society. And you can't just sit in the background. You got to help out. You got to mentor. You got to pull these women up, right? So just look for this message to come forward. I don't want to get stuck on it. It's coming though. That message is coming in a big way. Yeah, I want to get to Enemy Within because I think there's more truth in fiction than there is in truth. But I know this whole game is going back and forth. Oh, stocks are up. Well, Huawei's being a jerk. Well, okay, we let go of the restrictions. Okay, now stocks go back up. Yeah. They sort of show you little flickers of how things are interrelated, but just are very disingenuous about what those actual direct connections are. What is relating to what, and they can tell you these stories then because you have a very vague understanding of how, global trade works. Like, even if you're a trading mastermind, if you know everything about all this stuff, you don't really know. It's guesses in the dark, which makes it a lot easier to spread articles around like this, where right you can crunch some numbers, compare some things, and now all of a sudden you have an ideological story ready to go. We don't like China, death squads and all that kind of that's the bad stuff, but they make all our shit and we need them ultra hard. So let's not sanction them. Can we not sanction them? It's ruining the stocks. Okay, maybe they got some spyware. Can we move past that? Right? You see, you're being forced to weigh all these different things against each other. Should I worry about, well, how should I worry about China? Are they going to spy on me? Are they not going to spy on me? Well, it's a good thing I got Reuters because they're going to help me out. And just in a general, ooh, Dawn, what's happening? Yeah, I guess I got the contrail. Oh, and I just said contrail, and you also typed contrail, and I guess I could just talk about contrails all day long now because I got the banner already. I honestly think they do analyze the images. They test, and they see my single trails, and they test those against other historical contrail photos. And I don't even need to say, I don't need to say trails. I don't need to say anything, basically. They're going to just pull it out of those images and give me the good old banner. So, welcome to a show that is confusing you about contrails, and it's a good thing that info box popped up for so just I encourage you guys to go click on it, read about what Encyclopedia Britannica is going to tell you about contrails. Everything's moving forward. This is only $400, right? VR has been in development for quite some time at this point. The trouble with the previous generation was that you needed a pretty hardcore gaming computer with a serious graphics card, right? You need to drop at least a couple thousand on that to run the original Oculus and HTC Vive. So now with this new setup, right? What they're releasing now that they've been bought by Facebook, and that's all sort of moving forward, right? The computer itself is going to be in the headset, and so you will not need to have a big tether. You won't need to, what's it called? You won't need to be. You don't need to get this big gaming computer. You don't need to get anything really. You just need to spend $400, and now you're all of a sudden you're ready for VR. You can set this up anywhere. That's when I think this thing is really going to catch on. I'm still questioning whether Facebook, in their, seriously rock bottom image that they have these days, is going to be able to fight through that. But this may be their new way to get around all of that they're going to pile everybody into this thing, start giving these away real cheap at some point, and then all of a sudden, we're all chilling together in the VR land. And this just came out a couple days ago. It is marching forward. All right, so let's get into this. I'm gonna pull you some clips. I'm gonna pull you those clips, but let's talk about the show for a second. This is really just has gone completely under the radar for most people, and understandably so, because it honestly is very boilerplate, very sort of basic. It's from NBC. And starring these people, this lady who was also in this show, very famous, and really she's sort of worked her whole career towards this. This is a really big show for her. She was also on Limitless, and that's another thing about these shows. The deeper you go down this rabbit hole, every sort of major series or role that this person has had, they bring that forward with them. All of those images and ideas that they were, say, as Deborah Morgan, a lot of those ideas are going to get brought forward, in the producer's mind, but also in a lot of the super fans. They're going to be like, oh, that's that lady. And all of those things that you were made to feel while she was playing that role are going to be brought forward into this new show. So, just another reason why it's important to take a step back and study the trails. So those are our main stars. We got that lady, and then we got this guy, who is also a very, very popular regular. And I guess his more famous thing was Goliath. He was on Rosewood. Did a lot of legends. And Nurse Jackie, I think he had a big role on that, right? But he's obviously been in a lot of stuff. American Horror Story. So these are very well entrenched people, right? And those are the kind of people that get these types of roles in these types of shows that are, this is network to its core. This thing was probably conceptualized fully and executed within the studios. And I think that's why it's so boilerplate and almost feels like from a previous generation. And I'm not the only one saying this. It's got a 43 on Rotten Tomatoes, and there's some pretty scathing reviews out here, right? Mostly saying that they're good actors, It doesn't crackle. You should go watch The Blacklist instead. It's generic FBI show. That's a good review. No charm, no camaraderie, no sexual tension. Just a general disaster, right? Which makes it almost more interesting to look at for clues, because they just have to. They have to put them in everything, and so when something's actually kind of bad, it's almost easier to tease them out, right? They don't know if the show's going forward. It may get canceled, may not. But let's check out the clips. It's that same basic stuff. The agencies that I guess maybe the television show will say for me. I'm really not sure what words we're supposed to say and not say. And again, that uncertainty is a huge portion, I think, of the technique that they're using. But these government agencies are sort of being pitted against each other, displayed, and this is how. That's my whole thesis. What's going on TV, especially this major network stuff, this is how you learn how to think about these subjects. There's no other way. You can read news articles, but you don't read news articles when you're 7, right? You catch little snippets of television when you're a little kid, and this is how you get it. Right? Just a very basic clip here at the beginning. They're breaking into this place, and there's a terrorist bomb on the inside, and they got to get in there, but somebody tricked them. Did they get tricked in the wrong way? Did somebody get confused? Did somebody give false leading misinfo or something? Right? But you're plastered here with FBI. And that's sort of the other point. Anytime you see any of this government clothing, it's hard to say exactly how heavily the group is involved with the show. Whether they're just reading the script, looking for keywords, and signing off or asking for changes, or whether they're deep in from the very get-go about the concepts and the actual creation of the script. That's the really hard part to tease out. We get the finished product and we have to look at that. But I think it's safe to say that the FBI is pretty on board with how the FBI is presented in The Enemy Within. I'd say the CIA is also pretty on board. Oh, I said it. I guess I can say contrail again. Man, contrail. The long contrail. Let's get to some extra audio.
Let's get out of there.
Everybody, fall! Get down!
Right, and these images of actually pretty extreme violence that we're just sort of basically, we're made ready for the future. That's a crazy violent thing to have happen to you.
Let's get out of there.
Everybody, fall! Get down!
Right, we just witnessed multiple people dying directly, not from afar, but feet from them. We were made to feel what it's like to get exploded by a terrorist bomb. So that's going to help sell the message.
To murder civilians, he is eliminated.
You don't think I lie in bed every single night trying to figure out a bullet in his head?
Do it.
Not until I stop the attack.
I know the plan, but events have changed, and you need to change too.
And this is sort of the main area I want to get into, because a lot of this was the finale of the season. I don't watch the show, which is, again, it was good to catch the finale, because then they're trying to put a lot of wrapping stuff up and a lot of messages in there. There's a big story here, right? The basic premise is that Deborah Morgan here she did a really bad thing, but now she's helping out the FBI as an informant, which is, again, just an ultra common story. White collar. There's so many boilerplate shows where, right, traitor person gets pulled in and is has remorse and is made to just get better, made to et cetera, et cetera. But the point I want to point out here in this thing, they're discussing the terrorist, the horrible brown person that has been, I guess, running this whole season, which is really, this is so Jack Bauer style. What's that show? 24, where it's just really sort of generic terrorism, but it's still effective depending on the viewer, especially on international viewers. But they're saying, I would do anything to get the terrorist. I would, I've been up for weeks and I'm going to do anything. What are his quotes again? Let me hear the quotes again.
You don't think I lie in bed every single night trying to figure out a bullet in his head?
Do it.
Not until I stop the attack.
Not until I stop the attack, right? You don't think I lie in bed every night thinking about putting a bullet in this guy's head, which is, again, really one of the major pushing points of television and media in general, is justifying murder, killings, and showing you what types and areas and situations where that's a good thing, where that person generally just needs to get murdered, and you should feel happy when you see them being murdered. Which is slightly confusing depending on who you are, because, I personally have never murdered anybody. I don't want to murder anybody. And I have never met somebody personally that I think should be murdered. People have pissed me off, but generally that's not how I feel. So I think that's why they got to show you these scenarios. Yeah, later prepared minds, great to have you. We all love Jack, and that's what I want to caveat that every single show, possibly. I love television. I love watching this stuff. I love the actors. This is art. It's the art of our age, much like painting and sculpture and all the other sort of propaganda that went on through different ages, right? Just because it's being used for nefarious purposes doesn't mean that, right? These are incredibly talented people doing great work, even when it's sort of boring, networky stuff, right? Just I got to keep putting that out there, because these people are doing great work. It just happens to be mind control. So, right, I wanna kill the terrorists. That was the main message in that one.
Power to finding out attack. Only one target important to him.
The CIA.
And for some reason, this bad terrorist guy, he has it out for the CIA. He's just at every corner, at every turn. I guess I didn't watch the show, but maybe he got sort of screwed over by the CIA, and I guess, that's another sort of justification and understanding. That's a little hidden message there, right? And those are the harder ones to tease out. The main bad guy was betrayed. The CIA tricked him, which is something that they do, and he should have, been chill with that, not turned into a super terrorist. Like, overreact much?
His world ended that day. Everything he's done since then, Allen is at the same target. CIA and his personnel, that's
The CIA headquarters.
Your place is the world.
There has to be another way to target the
I
CIA.
don't either, but I think I know who might. Bruh, this is Keith. Attack on U.S. soil today now. That attack will be against the CIA.
The agency's hosting a ceremony this month. This can't be the target run of military.
That's the target. Let's get ready to move.
It can't be a target. It's on a military base. Oh, they got the military rooted, right? They got bad guys and everything. This is The Enemy Within, Prepared Mind. This is NBC show, just wrapped up. Right, so in that clip there also it's the same story. Like, let's we gotta get this terrorist. He's a scary guy, and he's got something out for the CIA, and what is he gonna do? He's gotta hit one of those secret CIA dinner parties. You better watch out at your CIA dinner party, because some terrorists may come by. All right, there's your 33 mark. I'm on schedule this time. I'm gonna keep going. Just so I got a couple more clips, and then we'll head on to bed. Right, what is this doing, and what do we actually know historically about the CIA? We know that these guys work with opposition directly. They sow disinformation. They run drugs. They work with bad actors and people that on TV you would, they're going to tell you are the worst human beings. And, and then it comes out years later that whole operation was, bankrolled and funded by said government organization, right? That's the actual, I'm pretty sure, reality of what's going on in real world land. That is sort of their main function, is sow disinformation, confuse the public and the world at large about central, core issues that they need to confuse people about, and at the same time, pretend sort of to fight this terrorism, going out and assassinating people when in reality they're just calling them on the phone and saying, bro, like, can we make some money? Let's do this thing. And that's, I think, a big reason why we got to have TV shows like this saying, oh man, terrorist guy, he's so bad. I can't believe he's got all the connections. He's gonna get into the military base. How is he gonna do that? Well, I don't know. He's gonna bring all his AKs with him.
Ready to move.
Let's get ready to move. And then
I don't just want to attack the CIA. I want to erase it.
I don't just want to attack the CIA. I want to erase it, right? He obviously got screwed over. And honestly, like, yeah, the actual plot, it really is never that important, but the message is here, like...
There was someone else high up in the U.S. intelligence community. Here's my beliefs. Someone with real power, raised from the shadows.
No, I'm...
Search your mind, Erica. Spare my life.
I don't need your help.
And that's sort of the final scene, right? I guess they've been working this brown guy for the entire season, which is just pretty lazy. And here we get to the final phase. He drops a little breadcrumb saying, you know, you don't even know, but I'm basically working directly with the president or somebody. Maybe it's the NSA, maybe it's some other agency, right? But this guy, this evil terrorist guy who we thought was just evil for, you know, religious reasons or some other reason, he's actually coming out and telling you, like, yeah, I was actually working with the government, a higher up part than you were working with, and like, I got you owned. Do you want to make a deal? Let's go take that guy down, right? Because he's just trying to save his own skin. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Like, is part of this real? Is some of it real? I mean, he's admitting to collusion on an extremely high level, and that's, again, you know, with Jack Bauer 24, a lot of that older sort of military fear stuff. That's the name of the game. And yeah, it's definitely late. I'm gonna pile out of here too. It's been great talking with you guys. I'm super glad to have Bubba News with me. You know, maybe Marf is gonna go on a little earlier sometimes, and then I will get this show on a little earlier as well. I guess I could just go live when he goes live at midnight as well. But I want to chill with you guys. I want to watch the show, and then I want to, you know, try to make a place for people to chill after the show that are insomniacs like myself, so we can talk about this stuff. So later, Bubba News. We're gonna see you soon. I got one last clip for you, and then we're gonna call it. This may not seem important, but I think it is. At the end of all of these shows, at the end of everything, there's always like, so this, you know, there's got to be the postlude, the denouement. She shot him as, you know, as an act of valor to save him and under the terrorists, and it all sort of worked out. And they're back in their regular life, you know, just watching some kids sports, which again seems to be a major trope of going to watch your kid play sports after you've done, you know, killed some terrorists or whatever, because you got to get back to family. And he's, you know, it's just that typical cliffhanger stuff. You know, don't you want to join me? I got a special task force going. Let's go kill some more bad guys. It's scary out there, etc., etc. And so we can spin on to the next season. But, right? I don't know if I'm hitting this home correctly, but this is ground zero for your understanding of government agencies, what they do, why they do it, what is their purpose in life. Do we need them? Well, we need them to kill the terrorists. We also need them to pay off the terrorists. Wait, but we don't know which government agency that was. Maybe they were good guys. Maybe they had a good reason, actually. Often they do explain why they have good reasons. And I don't really know, guys. You know, as always, this is just rounds and rounds of speculation, but I think that is the only way to get any semblance of reality these days. It's just to speculate on speculations until things really start to line up for you. I was looking at my streetlights earlier today, and I definitely think there's something going on. There's definitely facial rec in there. You guys have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to get back to my research.